The mission of the Exeter West Greenwich Regional School District is to empower students to contribute to school and community by providing substantial learning experiences in a safe, trusting, and motivating environment.
Thank you. Okay, open forum. If there's anybody in the audience who'd like to address the committee on something that's not on the agenda.
Hi everyone. I met you all in January. My name is Alison Rosito. I'm a West Greenwich resident for 18 years. I have one child, an 8-year-old in Medcare. Back in January, I had mentioned that I, as a parent, was hoping for a real honor roll in our schools. In our school, I believe there's a real honor roll in high school, but at the elementary level, it's just something that administration is not partaking in. And I was hoping that as the traditional honor roll goes, you give a child highest honors, high honors. Sometimes there's honors. And some districts are using a new twist called recognition honors. If I can please show you a couple of things out of the paper, in case you missed it, you can't see every article. Right here is something called Metcalf Mustang Mindset Recognition. And that's a cute, catchy term. What the principal had done is just about every child grades 3 through 6 made this honor roll. As I went through the names, I figured out about 85% of the school made the honor roll. Yes, that 15% must feel terrible, and their parents do also. But here's the mistake. There was no distinction at all of a child's aptitude for what a child can do. Highest honors is A's, and high honors are the next B plus and up. And if you wanted to give a Metcalf Mustang Mindset Recognition, you don't give it to the whole school, because what you're doing is you're not showing any distinction of what kid did terrific and what kid is just sliding by. So I think this is very awkward. And I know a lot of parents wanted to see honor roll, and I had heard that a lot of parents complained about this. Also, it was only put in the Coventry paper. The parents in Exeter knew nothing about this.
I saw it in the Monthly Stuff Standard Times.
You did? Okay. Okay. Well, what you should know also, I grabbed this off the internet. I'm going to pass it around. Other districts in our state still have an honor roll.
The else and whatever we have.
Okay, guys, so I'm sure. This is the 6th grade honor roll in Coventry and school. So 6th grade, high honors. 6th grade, honors. And then at the very back, 6th grade, recognition of effort. So what that principal had done is he made the distinction. It's not being done here. We've got a lot of parents in an uproar about it.
Thank you so much. If you could leave that out.
Sure. Okay, I'll just take a look at it. I just have another minute, please. Coventry, Portsmouth, Burrillville, East Greenwich, Little Compton, and East Providence are just some of the towns and cities that printed the honor roll in the paper. they are making the distinction. There is highest honors for the kids that get A's. Now, why the system can't do it, or they're skittish about it, I mean, I just don't know. I don't see rewarding a kid that's getting D's. And a kid that's an A student, you're kind of compiling the A students in with the D students and saying it's all right because it's mindset recognition. Also, I bet all of you here, an intelligent crowd, I bet you all made the honor roll when you were 10, right? Did you make the honor roll when you were 10? I bet you did. Well, you wouldn't be in the position to hold that. So think about your children and your grandchildren, how they're not getting their due rewards. Okay? Think about it. Thank you. So I'm going to leave that for you. And that's just one sample. I didn't want to waste all my ink printing out these products from scratch. It's in there if you want. Okay? I think it was your decision not to have honor roll in the system. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's see. Student liaison monthly report. There's no.
So, just two things I'm going to talk about tonight. One of which is on the agenda, another which is that we had about an hour-long student council meeting today, in-depth argument, and it's really very interesting because we rarely have a lot of kids that actually contribute, but it was something that kids got really passionate about. So the first thing that we were talking about, and Mrs. Chandler approached me with, is a sign out front, a replacement sign, and that's really, we think that'd be a great investment for the school. We did some pricing. It would be anywhere from $4,000 to $10,000, but the main component is it would need to be a digital sign that we can edit from inside, because I've personally gone out there and moved the letters, and it's terrible. It's not fun at all, and I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy. And I mean, I think the last time we had a new sign was when the school was built. It seems like it should be pretty high up on the list of things that would be replaced. Now, whether or not that price is an issue, that's something that's not for student council to decide, obviously. Now, the second issue is our current policy on exam exemption in high school. So, as it stands now, you can get exempt from exams, but it's based on incentives on kneecaps. But as of next year, there are no more kneecaps unless something catastrophic happens, which at this point, I don't think anyone knows. But we don't know next year what the exam exemption policy is going to be. So we've thought about a couple proposals about how exams are going to be handled. 5 proposals being no exemption, only seniors can get exempt with an A average, all upperclassmen can get exempt with an A average, or everyone can get exempt, and nope, only 4 options. Sorry. I'm not going to make one up on the spot. And that's something like a lot of kids were talking about. While I don't think exam exemption is really a good idea, everyone else in the school, like they love it, they see it as a necessity, and we're sending out a survey to the teachers to see what they think, because it's one thing asking what the students think, but that's really irrelevant when it comes to the classroom and what can happen. So we're going to get the teachers' word on that, if there is going to be anything even like the system now, or if we're just going to do away with that. That's what we've really been focusing on.
It's a good idea to get the teachers' input. That's always important to get both sides.
We would have like a Marxist revolution if the students took over.
While you're up here, Noah, I'd like to congratulate you on your success.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. You did a nice job representing us.
While you're up here, Noah, I'd like you to tell everybody how old you are today.
17.
Today is your birthday.
Yes. We're going to go and watch an R-rated movie now.
Your first one, right, Noah?
Yes.
Still have to get your parents' permission.
Now is up for our junior high presentation.
My name is Mary Slattery, and I'm the junior high principal.
I'm Chris Anthony, I'm the assistant principal.
And I would just like to say hello and just say that this is my 5th year at EWG at the junior high. And I just want to let you know that I appreciate you allowing me to continue to be here. I love this district. I love my school. I love my job. I love being here. It's a really great school to be at. We have a couple of different things that we want to share with you tonight. But one thing that you might not know about me is that in addition to being a principal here, I'm also working on my PhD through URI and RIC. And so one of the things that I do, a lot of the work that I do is around becoming a reflective practitioner. And it's a really great way for anybody to become more professional in their job. And it's something that I encourage for the teachers to do, and something that I've actually spent a lot of time trying to work with the students on being reflective about what happens. And so kind of what we're going to put together here today is a little reflection on what happens in the junior high. And this is a time when I get to do my school committee presentation where we get to spend a little bit of time reflecting on the school, positives and negatives. We've spent some time, I've worked with the school improvement team to look at things that they see as positives and negatives. We've worked with the faculty. And in particular, I kind of worked with the 8th graders to have them share with me some of their reflections about the junior high. Before we get started, we have 2 things. One, we're going to pass out, we're going to pass out iPads because we're going to use those. But as a little gift from the junior high, we have a stylus. It's also a pen, and the other side's a stylus, and earbuds, because you're going to need those for a little later on. And we have some snacks that were made by one of our classes. One of my favorite administrative books is called If You Don't Feed the Teachers, They'll Eat the Students. And so I always feed my teachers, and I feel as if at 6 o'clock at night everyone could use a little food. So we have some lemon squares and some raspberry crumble bars. So unfortunately for Chris, he's going to go back to his Red Rooster days. He spent a little bit of time passing out food and also some iPads and things. I have a quick quiz for you, though. See the pieces of artwork that are placed out in front of you. Do not pick them up. But I have a question, if anybody can get it right, as to what they think the material is that those are made out of. Any brave souls wanting to take a little bit of a guess? You can't pick it up. You cannot pick it up.
Paper.
Obviously, the bottom is wood, but there's something...
Paper?
No?
They almost look like little tubes.
No? What? No?
Tires?
No? No? Nobody? I even have a prize for the person who gets it right.
Wow.
Oh, we gotta get really working on this, right?
Sure?
A tire.
No?
Paper towel.
When I found out what it was, I thought it was a very interesting
It's made out of
material, which is why I decided to use it as a little quiz to try and see if anybody else could figure it out. I will admit that I didn't figure it out. I was told by Mrs. Ray.
Materials. Talk about cloth.
Material is a good hint.
man-made or natural?
How many social?
Have a lifeline?
Can you phone a friend?
Polyester.
All right, well, I don't know if anybody's going to win now, because now I'm going to have to give away
Polyester.
There's a little clue. If you can see on the bottom of it, that might help you. This is why you're supposed to pick it up. Does the bottom help? What? That looks like what it is.
It's a PJ.
Cotton? Well, we got the wood, the material that's on it. Any guesses? No? Yeah? You're in art class, aren't you? That works too. Knee highs. So Mrs. Ray was at the store buying like 40 pair of knee highs, but she took a nylon, so they used a little metal piece, she put nylon over it, and then they painted it, which came out really, really cool. They were pretty awesome. But we do have, you can touch them now. But I figured if you touched them, you'd realize how light they were. And you'd realize it wasn't a metal thing. But you were there, but you still get the prize. And art class.
That's great.
See how much fun school committee meetings are? Come on. Yes. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do here, I have two little projects that I'm going to kind of share out. You don't need your iPads yet, so just like the kids, I'm going to ask you to fold them up and put them down so I can see that they're closed.
I realize we already voted on the budget. Now can't we go on?
No, not at all. Not at all. This is just the fun part. This is the fun stuff. Close up your iPads. I'll be like the kids. Make sure the cover's on and put them down so they don't see. And for those of you who don't know, every student in the junior high and every teacher has one of these iPads, and they're fantastic. And I used my iPad and my school MacBook to create an iMovie video for you, showing some of the things that are going on at the junior high, and then we're going to take one of each, Jim. Don't decide. Just take them both. Don't show favoritism. You got to have one of each.
He said okay.
I figured to be safe. So I'm going to show you an iMovie, and some of these videos are things that I've shared.
Yeah.
Anybody want some snacks? It's late night.
Raspberry crumble bars and lemon squares.
I took some videos in the classes. I had the teachers send me some projects that they were working on. And we're hoping that it's going to, here we go. And so the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you a video.
I absolutely love that picture. There's no snow on the ground.
There is no snow on the ground. It was taken this morning. We photoshopped the snow away. All right. Hold on. Just make sure. Speakers are plugged in. It may take just a minute for me to adjust the volume.
Welcome to Exeter West Greenwich Junior High School. We were once again recognized as a spotlight school. But being a spotlight school is more than just a label. It's about always trying to be at the forefront of educational initiatives and doing the best at what we do. The science department wrote and received the Champlin Grant for over $90,000 to create a STEM outdoor science park. One amazing thing that we were able to do this year was to go one-to-one with iPads for every student and every teacher in the school. We had a heavy focus this year on using technology for instruction, but we also spent time talking with the students about being safe using technology. To think before they post, and to balance technology with everything else that's going on in their lives. Technology is only one of the many tools that we use to develop and deliver curriculum to students, and it is only one of the many ways that students can show what they have learned. Students use their iPads for conducting research, taking and organizing their class notes, completing homework, classwork, and group projects. Students also worked with Miss Winner, the librarian, to complete video book reviews. Once completed, they were uploaded to the RICAT web server. Students created and shared presentations using a number of different apps on their iPads. The iPads were also used to take pictures of artwork, book reports, microscope slides, in-class performances, and broadside ballads that students created using contemporary songs while studying the American Revolution. 2 of those ballads were recorded and will be shared with you next.
Sort of like the boss is shout, throw this tea right off his boat. Watch it stick cause it can float. Don't be stopping, there's his mom. Don't what's the boss? Well, that trigger, don't let go. It's okay to turn on fire, it's like survivors plus a line. Plus much big with it all went down. Bob explains the British press. They accidentally opened fire and out by Blake off the ground. They were attacking on us, attacking on us. We get the tea and they were attacking on us, attacking on us. I'm on the sun of liberty. Yes, I protest every day. That must be bad because now we're taking is in the bed. Close to Parliament, we are all representatives. You, liberty, or you, death without this right, I will not live. No, ain't gonna be tax free. Well, since 1773, no, we're gonna be some new teeth, and that stuff is junky.
Stand back to tax on the operated goods we can't afford to get the news anymore. All the books and newspapers are too expensive. We do not know how to teach our kids. Our lives are sad and we want to protest with the sons of liberty and boys and lads. We fought for years. We are losing money. Oh, what should we do? You need to change the we heard your song, so stand up, please go.
Another thing that makes EWG Junior High so amazing is that while focusing on a rigorous curriculum and having high academic standards for all students, we also focus on educating the whole child. Let's hear some thoughts from some of our 8th grade students about what they think makes EWG so awesome.
These are the students who did the baking groups today.
Years have been a lot of fun. We went on a bunch of field trips. The friends are great. Black Knight teachers, I want to say thank you so much. I had such a fun time. You really helped me through some of my struggles in 7th grade, and I feel like 8th grade I went through so much because of my teachers and how much they really supported me.
It's amazing to have the same teachers in both 7th and 8th grade. Really, what my favorite part of junior high experience was the staff. My Black Knights team is a family of sorts. Advisory left to share problems or feelings about topics in school and out of school. Not to show favoritism, but Mr. Wallace and Ms. Burkhardt are amazing teachers. Their classes were and still are classes that are both educational and fun.
I think what really affected my junior high experience was the people I surrounded myself with, especially great friends that make me so happy to be around.
My experience in Exeter West Greenwich Junior High was probably really different than most. I had a pretty rough year or so in the junior high, and just about everyone was very helpful. They tried helping me get by my classes and other things. I thank them for that very much. It is one of the most professional schools in Rhode Island, and I hope everybody sees that. Thank you for my experience.
My favorite memory at junior high is when I first got there. Everything I really liked for school was there. And I also have amazing teachers that once tried to make the subjects fun, which I love. This is so much different from other schools in our district. But these wonderful people that put the schools together and got all the ideas is teaching us how it's like in different environments of our schools, so we can get ready for college. I love this school so much.
My favorite experience in junior high was the Washington, D.C. field trip because of friends, tour guides, teachers, and D.C. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous tourist site. The teachers are very supportive. The junior high experience has been one of the best experiences of my life. They are so nice.
Turn down for what? This was put together by a student.
My experience was one of the best things in my life. It made me realize that everything changes for a reason, and that the work you put into something is the work you get back. One of the best things about the junior high was all the amazing field trips we had. We were so lucky to get such good ones that taught us so much. Thank you, Mrs. Sauer, for making my junior high experience such a great one. I am really going to miss you and many of the things at the junior high.
So that's just part of it. So that's kind of the video. I think, anybody have any comments they want to make about the video itself? I was trying to capture a lot of different things, and there's snippets. I've been doing videos all year long in all the different classes and different ways that kids are using the notes. And one of the things that iPads, one of the things that's kind of interesting is I think throughout the course of this year, with the ability for every teacher to have the iPads and every student to have the iPads, teachers in different classes have figured out ways to make it work in their classes and how to really balance that, because it's not just about the technology. And I think that's really reflected when you talk to the students, when they were asked about their reflection. So one of the things we've talked about is doing a digital snow day and having the kids do some work while they're home. Well, one of the snow days we had this year, I emailed the kids, the 8th graders, telling them that it was a snow day. They had the day off, but if they had a chance to sit back and do a reflection, they could write me a letter, they could videotape themselves talking, they could send it to me, however they wanted, what their reflections were. And it was interesting to me that everything they came back to was the thing that I think is one of the most amazing things here is the faculty. It's the teachers, it's the people. And while the iPads are great tools and working on the curriculum is a really important thing to make sure that, and doing all of these things are really important, it's the people and it's the connections. And that's what the kids find the most valuable as well. And those were really interesting. The 2 videos, those were the only 2 student broadside ballads that I got, which I thought were very ironically funny, a rap from one student and Silent Night from the other 2 girls who actually practiced and met with Mr. Runner to get harmonies and melodies in there and all that stuff. But just the creativity from the students and the teachers to allow them, they were teaching about the American Revolution, and that at the time they created songs to familiar tunes to help get messages out because they couldn't tell them certain things. And so in class, Mr. Wallace asked the students to take the time to use either some type of familiar tune or song and turn that into information that proved that they understood what was going on. And it's kind of hard to hear it all, and I've listened to them lots of times, so I know all the things they say at this point now, but they really do get the point of the Stamp Act and all the different acts that they were learning about in the American Revolution, and they turned it into a song, and it helped them kind of look at that and kind of be pretty creative with how they did that. You want to talk about the technology station?
Yeah. One of the things that we did this year that really dovetailed nicely with the unrolling of the one-to-one iPads at the junior high and even the Chromebooks for the 9th and 10th grade at the senior high, we had a digital footprint / cyberbullying presentation that was done for students during the school day for junior and senior high, and then we had a presentation for the parents in the evening. And it covered topics, texting. Students send anything, whether it's a text, whether it's a picture. Once they hit send, they don't own it anymore. You have no control over what somebody else who received it has now done with it. And it exemplified some of the tragic consequences that students have faced at various ages because of things like that, where when many of us were in school, bullying that took place usually stayed within the school walls. Now it can go nationwide or worldwide, and somebody from Rhode Island can get bullied from somebody in California, and it's led to some really tragic consequences. It also tried to educate students and parents about digital footprint. We have students that aren't even born that already have a digital footprint on the internet, because as soon as parents go and get their first ultrasound, they post it on Facebook. So now there could be somebody out there that some kind of a stalker, worst case, can actually see this and can actually watch children grow up that aren't even their own. A student can take a picture, or an adult can take a picture on a cell phone and post it to Facebook, and there can be no geographical references in that picture whatsoever, but because they didn't turn off the geotagging in the phone, the longitude and latitude is there, and somebody can figure out exactly somebody else's movements just from the pictures that they take. It was really an eye-opening experience to see just how much of our lives we as adults share, and just how much of our lives sometimes our children are sharing. And it's kind of sobering. So it was geared towards getting students to understand that. I think we had a lot of students that probably turned off the geotagging on their phones afterwards if they didn't already. So when they put pictures up. But I think it was really enlightening. Our faculty came away with something from it. I think a large portion of our student body came away with something of it as well. And it really, I think, helped that it enhanced the safety of our students.
You can open up your iPads now. I think most of them should be set to Nearpod. When you open it up, you should have a screen that looks fairly similar to this one. I changed on me. If not, if you're on a home screen like this, if you put your finger in the middle and swipe down, you should get something that looks similar to this. Type in the top bar, Nearpod, N-E-A-R, and the Nearpod icon should come up, and that should bring you. So you should be able to get. I'm going to. Don't do that yet. I just want to make sure you get into Nearpod first. I'm going to project what you're going to see there up here, but it looks a little different when you log onto the computer. So Nearpod is something that the teachers can use as an educational tool, and I'll show you some of the things that it does, but I'm also going to, we're going to do a couple of different things with this, but everyone will be able to see. Your screen should look like this for the most part. One of the things I tell the kids all the time when you're on iPads, everyone's screen will look different at some point, so don't worry, we'll get you all caught up. If your screen looks like this or like this, you're in the right place. One of these two, you're in the right place. If not, raise your hand and Mr. Anthony will come home. So if you're here, you're going to want to skip the tour, and that will get you to this screen. And there's two ways to use this as a stand. If you fold it back, it'll either prop up this way, or if you turn it, it'll prop up this way. You fold it so that this part is flat along the back. Now lift the top up so that it's magnetic and it hooks in. So it's going to ask you to join a session. So go to the part where it says join a session. And you're going to need to put in the letters SOLPC. Does not have, it's not case sensitive. And you should get to a Nearpod presentation that looks like the one that's reflected up here. So you'll get to see the same thing that they have, just trying to make them do a little extra work. So you're going to go to join a session and enter the letters SOLPC. Now from here, I'm running it as the teacher, so I'll show you some of the different things that we have. I get the login screen to see where you're at. Probably it doesn't say as well. So just so you can see for a minute, on the bottom of my screen, I can see all my slides, and I can decide if at some point I want to skip to a different slide, I want to go back to a slide. You only get to see the ones as I push them out to you. So the first thing it's going to do is going to ask for you to sign in. Currently, you just put your name in and do send. So teachers can get information from students while they're doing this and get their names and get the information about a quiz while you do this. You'll get a thank you screen, and once I see that everybody's signed in, then I'll move us ahead. So here on the side, I have where it said how many students were in my Nearpod, and now I have everybody's names. So now you can look at the same thing that I'm looking at here. And what this is called a word cloud. And I created this word cloud from the student responses, from our school improvement team, from our faculty meeting, talking about some of the things that are really great about the junior high school. I'm not going to talk about each and every one of them that's up here, but there's a lot of really cool things that have happened this year that are a little bit different. We have, we created a personal math program. Do you want to help Bob? Because he got lost.
He's just putting in his name.
That's okay. That's all right. Everybody works at a different pace. It's all good. We'll get you there. We'll get you there. Some of the things that that both parents, when we met with the school improvement team, and teachers recognized were some of the things that make our school a great spotlight school, or some of the middle level practices that we do. The teaming, the looping, advisory, having the whole team time for them to be able to plan together, being able to really get to know the kids really well, and for parents to come in and be able to meet with the whole team was something they feel is really important because it's a good transition. In Metcalf, you kind of only have one or two teachers. In the high school, they have a lot of teachers. And while they have quite a few teachers in the junior high, you have a team, and a team that meets together every day and is able to talk together. So when you have a concern and you come in, you have that whole team of teachers that's been working with you that you can get information on and information about your students on. And that's a really huge thing. And one of the positives that was mentioned was communication. And I think a lot of that communication comes in that teaming time and the ability to do that time where people are working together. During our lunch block this year, we've done some different activities, and we've been able to put in an RTI intervention block during that lunch block. And it's been really great to have that opportunity for students to work with and there's always one. Having that intervention block is pretty helpful because it's a time for us to catch kids and make sure that they're able to do some work. We've worked quite a bit with Marie on the iReady and using that data and making sense of that data and having that be able to help us to target interventions. And even kids who are in advanced classes are also sometimes at need of intervention in a certain area. And while they may be good math students or excellent writers, there might be an area in which they could still use some help. So we were able to kind of put a bunch of those things together. Right now, little quiz. Write down some positive things that you remember from the video or the previous slide that we talked about about the junior high school. There's no grade, and you can tap on it, and then you can type. If you tap on that The screen will come up and you'll be able to type in there. Come to work.
So what you talked about, not necessarily what we observed.
Can be anything. Can be what you observed, can be it can be your own personal experience, because I've had several of you that have been in the junior high and still are. And it can be anything. So this is one of the slides in Nearpod. It's called a free text slide. I can ask a question, and on my screen, it looks different. What I'm seeing is who's answered my question and what information they put in there. So as a teacher, I'm seeing who's answered and what things they have entered. And if I were teaching in a class and had a problem with the students that they were giving me the wrong answer or there was some question, I could go back and review that slide. Or if I was doing a vocabulary lesson and people were getting things right, maybe I could then go down to the bottom and skip over some questions because we didn't really need to address those things. So the versatility with Nearpod is great. This little pie bar at the top is showing me how many people are done. Sorry.
And is this app a free app?
Free app. We purchased a Nearpod subscription because there are tons of Nearpods that are already created with different curriculums, so teachers can take them and then adapt them how they want to use them, rather than having to go in and create their own. But I had teachers using it first for free, and I've done it kind of similar to what I'm doing now, where the questions aren't really hard or tricky, but I did it with teachers so they would see kind of what it was and they loved it, and that's kind of where we got into using it. I can see now that I'm halfway done. Half of the people have answered and submitted. So once you're done and you submit, then I'll know, and I can start to see what some of the answers were. When you've submitted, you should get a thank you screen so you know. So you should get a thank you screen when you're done. Now from here, I can look at this and I can share out a student's answer. It doesn't have the student's name on it, so it's not threatening to them, but it also is something that I can share out. Answers for a writing assignment, I can share it out and we can look at something that's on there. I can share out answers that were good for students that we might want to review, questions. If I notice a bunch of kids saying the same thing but having an issue with it, I might share out the wrong answer and say, well, a lot of you said the same thing. Why do you think that answer came up? So Nearpod has a lot of flexibility to it. You can also assign it as homework so students can do it on their own at home. We didn't really go into the idea of weaknesses, rather the idea of things we want to continue to work on. Although a particular member of our school improvement team came with quite a few concerns he had at our last school improvement meeting. He may not get cookies on the way home. No, he is always good. Brought lots of cookies. Lots of good stuff to talk about, though. And one of the things that we've continued to work on is curriculum work. And while the teachers are working on that, they're also working out ways to continue to figure out how to integrate technology into that curriculum as they're getting it done. What things make sense to use for technology? What things are out there that are already available to them to use to work on technology? One of the things that's kind of interesting about the junior high, if you stop and think about it, is every year, half of the school is new. It's only 7th and 8th grade. So every year, we're transitioning half of the school over again. So we kind of do a lot with transitions, and it's something that's really important to us, and we spend a lot of time on the transitions. One great thing is that we have Chris Anthony here that works in the high school as well. So I'm going to let him talk a little bit about the 9th grade transition.
One of the things we've unrolled this year is course selection for incoming freshmen through incoming seniors through the Aspen student portal. We enrolled the student portal to our students 8th grade through 11th grade, and instead of doing their course selection on paper, bringing it to their guidance counselors, and their guidance counselors spending a lot of time putting in the requests rather than talking to the students about what they want, the students have now had an opportunity to put their courses in themselves. And we actually pioneered this with the 8th grade. The 8th graders actually the trailblazers this year, so we kind of used them as a guinea pigs. We did some troubleshooting with the 8th grade, which led us to discover some things that we were able to adjust for the high school. A couple of things we didn't figure out because it wasn't going to be part of the senior high, the junior high experience. So, for example, band. We didn't have band clicked and asked them to allow students to take it again. That's not going to affect the junior high kids. So when we got to the senior high and our first kid tried to click in band or chorus, they couldn't click it. They weren't allowed to take it, so we had to kind of problem solve and find out what happened. We fixed that. And it's been, I think, a good experience because the other thing that we have done, which is dovetailing with the new program of studies at the senior high, is that the course recommendations for the core classes, English, Science, History, and one of them is escaping math, are the students' course selections for next year are automatically pulled from the teacher's course recommendations. We have an override policy that's now part of the newly approved program of studies. We have directed students to where that is. If they and their families are looking to go to a different class besides what they were recommended for from the teachers. And then what they're doing usually, we've already got phys ed populated in, and then students are getting the options for the electives that they need. And it's basically going to allow us to spend more time with the kids afterwards talking about the courses that they've put in, rather than how it had been done before, with the students sitting with the counselor and the counselor actually doing that work. Now they'll actually get some time to have some personal exchanges, get things connected to what the students want to do throughout their 4 years of high school. So what we're seeing right now is some success with it. We did things kind of a little bit backwards this year, a little cart before the horse. We had the students pick their classes before we actually had the student assembly and the evening program for parents. And some of that was just unrolling the new program through the system. We've already kind of looked at that, done a little bit of debriefing. When we do this next year, we're definitely going back to doing the assembly with the kids and the assembly with the parents. Then the course selection process will start. So I've already got a page of notes of what to do for next year to actually improve it. But we think really out of the gate, it's gone pretty well. I think the students have had overall good success with it. Let's see how it goes when we start building our schedule.
We also work on transitioning 6th graders to 7th grade, and Catherine Murray is the guidance counselor who works both at Metcalf and with us, and she spends a lot of time trying to help us with that transition back and forth. Safety of the building and keeping kids safe is always a concern. It's always something that's in the forefront of our mind, and always trying to think of different ways to be safe and different things that we need to do when looking at student safety at all times. There wasn't anything that's necessarily a concern, but one of the things that we want to continue working on as we go forward. Our intervention period, like I was mentioning, we have a new intervention period that we've kind of been building in. It needs some tweaking, because sometimes we need to look at making sure kids have opportunities for band and chorus while they're also getting the opportunities for the intervention and the extra help. So kind of adjusting that. And also looking at policies. It's always, when you get new technology, there was a little bit of a kind of, let's see what we can do with these. And handing them out at the beginning of the year, we did do some pullback. We changed some regulations as we went. But we've tried to kind of stay at least this far ahead and just right on top of where we're going with it. But we didn't have policies. We didn't know. We piloted last year with 30 kids. It was really easy for me to manage 30 kids and 2 teachers and their apps. It was a totally different challenge with 300 kids, 50 teachers, and trying to manage apps and programs and all just the little glitches of things that came up. And so we're adjusting and adapting policies for things that we didn't have before, we didn't need before. Even things like looking at safety. We've looked at what to do in a lockdown. We've looked at best practices. Are those all the same as they used to be? Times are changing, things are changing, and those are kinds of some of the things that we want to look at as a junior high school. One of the things that I asked students about this year was we had a contest from Barnes & Noble that was asking them about their favorite teacher. And I had a couple kids who, on their own, there wasn't any time in the school day, and actually it wasn't really something I asked the teachers to do with them. I just sent it out to the kids. One of the fabulous things about having the iPads and now even the student portal for students in Aspen, but having the students have their own email addresses, is I email the kids on a more regular basis. I'm in contact with them. And a great thing that's happened from that is I've had kids email me when there's a problem, when something's going on, when they're upset, when they've seen bullying. It's become kind of a way for them to communicate with me without having to seek me out in the hallway. And then I can find them and check in with them during the day. And I've had some kids report things to me on email. That's been really great. One of the things we did was I sent out this information about the Barnes & Noble contest for my favorite teacher. And so some of the students filled them out, and so we had them videotape. I had them present the letters they wrote to their teachers. But I did a couple of videos, which are kind of fun, and I'll show you kind of some of the beauty of that with the Nearpod. But first, you have some work to do. Think about one of your favorite teachers and write why he or she was your favorite teacher. Not a novel, not a long letter, sentence, couple of words, something quick, but just kind of think about your favorite teachers. Bob signed himself in as Tom Brady, which is why his name isn't connecting, because we have special rights for Tom Brady. He doesn't get to sign into our Nearpods. Marie just got kicked out of the Nearpod, which happens sometimes. I mean, I didn't kick her out. Sometimes things happen and you get kicked out. And those are things that we found. Actually, we had... Oh, Jim just made a face at me. I didn't get this. You didn't send it yet. I can't read it to you.
I just wanted to check if you could read what I was writing.
Uh-oh. I can, and I can share it out with everyone. So
when Marie did sign back in, it brought her to where we are now. She didn't have to try to scroll from the beginning and catch up. It brought her right there in real time.
But one of the things we tried to do at Open House, and we learned, was I tried to do a Nearpod with the parents at Open House. You can't have 300 people log into your Nearpod at the same time. I had never tried it with 300 people before. I didn't know that. But we kind of did the same thing where I had projected it, but people who could get in were able to see it on the kids' iPads. But I'm going to have to see from Nearpod or a different way if I can present differently that way. But it was kind of fun. I got to figure out what Jim is writing.
I'm just reminiscing back to high school days.
The good old days.
Because of this question. It's actually a good thing.
I think one of the things that I noticed from the kids was it was all about relationships and the people who they connected with. And that was...
Post the superintendent.
Say that again?
I think she should post yours because it was kind of funny. We all want to say.
I erased what was funny.
There we go. It wasn't. He took the other pieces off, and other stuff off. But a lot of the different things that I'm noticing from here, encouraging, available for extra help, sense of humor, which I think you see from the kids a lot, is something that they really appreciate. So I'm not going to have you watch the video here, and I couldn't put it in because this one was a little bit too long, but we're going to watch a video. There is a quiz after, so pay attention.
Mr. Wallace, I don't know where to begin. Thank you for the best 2 years I've ever had in school. Not only are you a good teacher, but I can go deeper than that and say that you are a good mentor. You teach us more than history and geography. You teach us life lessons and what to do in certain problems in life. Even students that don't care about school are excited to come to your class every day. If somebody has a problem, you would sit by our side every step until we solve it. You could take a bumpy road and turn it into smooth sailing. Also, when class is boring, you take the class a level higher and make it wonderful to listen to. You make every one of your students laugh, express themselves, and learn so many incredible things just by being you. I would like to thank you for not giving up on us, going through thick and thin, keeping what you do best, in doing and inspiring students to listen and enjoy school. When we move on to harder problems in life, we will look back at this and never forget the memories and life lessons you have taught us in the past couple of years. One of my favorite memories is when you arranged a field trip to Boston Freedom Trail so that we could learn numerous things about our country's history. We could just sit down and read from our textbooks, but no. Like I said, you take it a step higher and bring us the actual history in the making. The day was truly learning experience, and we could all share together and as a team. Finally, I'd like to say that you are the best tie collection ever.
Mr. Anthony, do you want to comment on the tie collection comment? Because there is actually history behind it.
There's a little history to that. The rest of it was edited out. It was nothing bad. He said that Mr. Anthony and Mr. Sharest have nothing on Mr. Wallace.
He didn't say that.
He said something like that.
Keep it positive.
Past couple holiday seasons, Mr. Sharest and I, and formerly Mr. Watsky as well, have done a Christmas tie contest. Mr. Wallace and I each have enough ties to get us basically from the day after Thanksgiving to the day before Christmas. Different ties every day. And so I would go into his room, try to get a different period every day to give everybody an equal opportunity, and they would get to vote on our ties. Mr. Wallace and I would turn and have our backs to the class so that we couldn't see. Try to coach them on not blurting out who the winner was. It was like the Electoral College. It wasn't.
The students have really embraced having the technology. For the teachers, how has it affected, test prep time and lesson planning time and kind of questionnaires that you demonstrated?
For every teacher and every content and every individual, it's been different. We've kind of, like I said, I demo a lot of this stuff beforehand for them. I've used Prezi with the teachers a lot. I know they've used that. Nearpod, we have a lot of teachers who use that. It's varied, and I think the thing that the teachers have spent a lot of time on this year is trying to keep that balance, that it's not all tech, but it can be really helpful in certain things. Like when a teacher was absent, sometimes the sub doesn't know how to do the math problems that you're giving them. We have a teacher who sent a link to Learn Zillion, which is an online tool that they can go and watch a video about almost any topic. Learn Zillion has some of the best math topics, but so they can do that, and then they have a worksheet, and then they can send it back, and the teacher was able to give them feedback without ever coming into the school, which is why we jokingly say to the superintendent that I can do digital snow days. So in June, we're going to just stay home. But the idea of looking towards that, because not every kid has internet capability at home, and we did certainly have some glitches with getting things organized and kind of trying out different things. We've had certain teachers use Notability more, and kids have found that to be good. Another thing is a lot of times the kids really like the writing of it, not using their iPads, but being able to write and take notes. And some things don't lend themselves to taking notes really great. So at the end of the class, they take a picture of it and put it into an electronic notebook. Then they have that with them when they go home, and that's not Wi-Fi dependent. Notability is something that they can use whether or not they have the internet. And so I think it really has depended on the teacher. We had some teachers who were early adapters last year and who really pushed for us to get more technology. But I've also had some teachers who are kind of a little bit more hesitant about it. And I think for those teachers, the kids have almost pushed them a little more. With the microscope, the slide, one of the students was trying to draw it, and they said, "Can I take a picture with my iPad and put it in my notebook?" Why not? I can't draw the cells on a microscope slide, but the kids were, thinking, and then they labeled it. Then they can go through it, so there's a lot of different things, and sometimes it's been the kids using it in different classes that have kind of helped push that forward. Math's always a little bit of a challenge because it's a little bit harder with the symbols, but I think we found a couple different programs that work pretty well with that. Notability is a good one because they can write with a stylus, write with their finger, or type in it. So it kind of has a lot of different functions.
And there's been professional development to help assist.
It'll keep going. We will do more, but we actually have the instructional specialists throughout the district, Art Searle, and sometimes Art doesn't come over to the junior high too much, and what he says is that we're waving the flag out front of technology because, as you can tell, I'm fairly comfortable with tech. Mr. Anthony's pretty comfortable with tech, so we do a whole lot of tech support of the kids and the teachers, and so I do a lot of, Nearpod I did 2 years ago with my teachers, and I did kind of like I showed you today, something where we kind of demonstrated it so that they would know what it was like and how to use it and the benefits of it. So they started picking it up on their own earlier, and then they got frustrated because not everybody had the devices, and so only one class at a time could use it, and so that was a big push for us, hoping to get them. And then we have a lot of teachers who've kind of taken the initiative on Google Classroom, and I try to level my PD, letting them all kind of get a different opportunity and having the really tech-savvy people sit together and talk about what works and what doesn't work. And then we've done CPTs where a lot of different teachers have presented. I did, our French teachers, I did blogging in my classroom last week. Anybody want to see how I did it, why I did it, what worked and what didn't work? And then they all go in and kind of sit down and look at it. And then they say, okay, so this is what worked for you. How do I kind of apply that to my own? And we've done some where it's just by department. So all the math teachers sit together and say, these Learn Zillion videos, the Engage New York stuff is really great. How do we kind of make it work on what we're using now? So it's ongoing PD kind of all the time with it.
Thank you. Do you see any problems with the junior high using the iPads and Apple products, Mac and so on, and then graduating to the Chromebooks when they get to high school?
No,
because they operate differently.
We also have Chrome carts, one for each team. And so in the ELA classes where they tend to do larger writing assignments, or in sometimes when they do the research project in history class, the kids will have access to using the Chrome carts. So the non-digital natives have a little bit more of issue going from an Apple product to a Chrome product to different products. The kids seem to go back and forth with them pretty easily, and I'm not sure how the kids are going to feel not having their iPads, because some of them have really learned some really great.
That's what I mean.
The note-taking skills that they can do in these are fantastic, and for my opinion, the controls that we can use on them are great, because I can, with these, I can quickly look around and see where you're all at. I have no idea what you're on your laptops right now. But when you have the iPads out, they'll, like I told you, close them, put them away. But a lot of times they'll tell the kids, lay it flat so I see where you're at. I've taught the teachers a couple little things about how to monitor them, but they've spent a lot of time trying to figure out really the educational, instructional purposes of using them. But I think the kids are pretty good at adapting. And the other thing is all of the stuff that they have in Notability, we've taught the kids to back up to their Google Drive. And we spend a lot of time using Google Classroom and Google Docs, which are all things they're going to be using on the Chromebooks and in the high school, and that you use whether you're on a Mac platform or you're on a Google platform or you're on a different type of PC. So we try and keep it balanced, even though the kids have the iPads and they use that. All of their notes are not going to be lost just because they lose Notability. But I mean, even the skill of that. I could put this one down, pick up a new iPad, log in, and all my notes for Notability are still going to be in there. I just have to re-pull them out of, even from my Google Drive, I can pull them out and see some of them. I think the kids are a little bit better, and we do try and spend time working with the Chromebooks, most specifically in English classes, but some of the math classes use it, especially for the iReady. They have those. The kids have some access to them during the year, the Chromebooks, so there's a balance. We found those work great for the instructional purposes, but I think there's a pretty good balance, and the kids are pretty good at kind of going back and forth. But this being the first year, we don't really know how that is going to.
They won't have any troubles transitioning in terms of skill set. In terms of maybe withdrawal from how much they like the iPads, it's probably where you'd see the grumbling. But in terms of, there shouldn't be any, I don't know what I'm doing on a Chromebook. I actually just went into a classroom yesterday to grab a Chromebook for a tech meeting with Ms. Slattery and Mr. Bain, and I went in and the entire class had Chromebooks out.
That was my fault.
All going well.
Yeah.
My fault wasn't more or less their ability to transition, because
it's the withdrawal.
Pretty much do anything with anything.
Yeah.
But I was more concerned with the Chromebook. To me, is a step down from that. So it's almost like they're getting the better technology earlier on, and then we're gonna give them something that's not as good later on.
Like high school teachers, we look to see what works best for their curriculum use in the classroom. I believe that's why we get Chromebooks in high school.
Yeah, it
and
was
in
really
junior high, the teachers wanted the iPads for all their apps and how to do so. I don't think it was.
I'm just concerned.
It wasn't us determining who got what because how much it cost.
No, it was. I was on the tech committee that worked with that, and so it was, based on different things that people had used. And like I said, we've had the iPads for a couple of years, not full blown for everybody, but we had done a couple of grants where teachers have gotten those and started using them. So we started kind of spreading that, and so that's where we really had to push for the iPads in the junior high.
Okay, but it is something that we'll continue to look at. And the nice thing is that the 9th grade year is the year that we are replacing computers each year. As they enter. So at any point in time, we can decide that we're moving to iPad, if that's the decision that's made. And then instead of the Chromebook, we just replace it.
Right, it just transitions right along.
So there is a nice opportunity for us to do that if that's the decision that's made.
Yeah, I've had some parents ask me if they could buy them at the end of junior high to keep them because the kids have really done a lot with them and really liked them. And there's snacks left. I can't take them back, so you have to.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, class ate food. If any of you have been in the junior high foyer prior to the Super Bowl, they were also the class that was responsible for decorating our Patriots' deflated football shirt. Established that right there.
Consent agenda, there is a supplemental piece as well. We have the approval of the regular meeting minutes from February 24th, executive session minutes. We also have one resignation. This is an athletic resignation. Yeah, that should say junior high. We have a resignation on the supplemental from one of the website design team members. And we also have our monthly bills. We've had quite a few athletic resignations over the past several weeks.
I know. Same thing.
Say that again?
I just said the same thing.
Yeah, there's a variety. It really varies. But the interview committees have all taken place, and there are recommended candidates. I just haven't met with them yet. So Robin actually started to schedule those meetings from this week that's done. So the next school committee meeting will be replacing. We'll have on the agenda the replacement recommendations, but I don't put anybody on this list. And none of them are in district, so I have no idea. So did I say the bills already?
Yes.
So that's it.
Anybody like to hold?
Yes, I did.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, correspondence. Any questions? Comments?
I just have a question about the discipline reports. I think there was a request that they be put on the regular agenda and then a comparison to prior year activity. We still need that? Because they had not been on the agenda before. It's hard on before, so.
They were up? Okay.
Then I was
we have them on, right? I think mine. I don't know.
Is this the, this is a comparison that you're
yeah, the discipline reports that are on the agenda all the time.
on the consent?
Yes.
On the consent, on the correspondence. Robin's been putting them on for a long time.
About 2 years.
Is the question whether we need to continue?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to see seeing?
No.
Okay.
They've been on for a long time. They weren't always on, so I didn't know if they were put on.
Gotcha. I think
The
some of
rising
this is
of
based on
concern.
PBIS too. I know while we were at that one sales to the Swiss data and everything, that's where this comes from.
Yeah, there was some categories a few years ago that just kind of got like discrimination and stuff like that.
Right.
So I always want to go back and
To see if there's like increased activity or things are improving.
Right. So it's kind of what happened. Yeah, I had asked for that a couple of years ago, and I kind of like thinking it.
Good. I just
mean, it
want
doesn't have to be
that's a
any one.
decision that we don't look at.
Even quarterly's fine, but I just I'm curious about it. I'd like to keep it on there.
Yep. Good. Thank you.
I just want to make a comment on the strategic plan. Extremely impressive and organized and there's a lot of work into it and it looks fabulous from the get-go. So we look forward to the progression.
I'm really happy with what has come out of those subcommittees so far. You know, one of the things I was thinking about during Mrs. Slattery's presentation, she talked about concerns, issues, things that they wanted to work on. There is great alignment with everything that she said and the areas that we are focusing on through our strategic plan. And I think you're going to find that alignment to be the case across the board from alignment to way. So I feel like we have a group of people that are really moving in the same direction. And I think this coming strategic plan will be one that is owned by a lot of people and it'll be it will be a working document, not just something that's produced and put on the shelf and worry about 5 years. It will be something that we are constantly looking at and driving movement.
So thank you for
There was one, I think it used to be a correspondence. I haven't seen it for a while. That was the use of the Action Plus. Just curious as to,
I can get it for you.
just so we can
it
doesn't have to be every month.
So periodically, I was putting that in my status report. That's
Yeah,
right.
it was a nice
So
one.
I can get it. Yeah, thank you.
2014-15 budget projection.
Yeah, the revised calendar was one of the correspondence issues. It's just, we had 4 snow days, they're added at the end of the calendar, and then we still get out earlier than pretty much everybody in the state. June 19th, I think, is our last day.
Do you need a motion for this?
No, it's just an updated. You need a motion on the new calendar.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
The snow day. We need to
Run
decide.
out.
It's just the.
Okay. Budget.
The significance there, or significant change from previous month is on the audited June 30th, 2014 general fund balance. You can see that the adjustment has been made on the audit correcting which is very nice. And then the second line from the bottom, just for more transparency, we do have to show the expense of the available from surplus, which is $168,000. Under the source, under the revenue source, it's or from the bottom, available from surplus. So, that's pretty much it. We're looking like we're in very good shape. So that's a good thing.
Any questions? Okay, 15-16 budget.
The only thing that is there, there's no change from the last time we were together, but in the supplemental, just for reference, are samples of the ballot. And the first sample is if there is one budget amount, and the second sample is if there are amendments. There are alternate budgets that are stated. And then we have the charter questions that are on this. So had sent that off to them prior to the November ballot.
Yeah.
I resubmitted again, just to be sure. They had it for a long time, and they did. You know, we did have our meeting. I know that's in my side of the report, but we did have our meeting with the 2 towns and talked about the ballot. Was present, so everybody's on board.
And then a sample ballot, once we know if we have any amendments, that'll go with our letter to the residents, so we can see it as time.
Okay.
So they don't get there and they're dumbfounded, you know, with the questions.
Yeah, no, it's a good idea.
Yeah, so that'll go with the letter. So we'll have that, we should have that for the next meeting, the 24th.
Yes. Yep.
The letter.
I guess we will.
Okay, let's see. Nobody wants to subcommittee reports into the week. My status reports, anybody have any questions, comments? I haven't seen so I'm going to, anybody have any comments? No? I just want to comment on Marie on the 2 mini grants that we received. So excited. Writing and improving communication from 6th grade to 7th, 8th grade. Those are my 2 areas for years, and I know we've been working on it. I know we've made a lot of headway with writing and going from 6th grade to junior high.
That
So,
came up on the
I was, when I saw this, when they were going, I'm like, this is fabulous. So I'm thrilled about that. That's pretty much
We are too.
Looking forward to that.
I'm glad you said something about those, because I told you at the last meeting, I didn't want to take away your.
Oh, I didn't remember, so. It hit my 2 pet peeves, so I was like. So if I come to the question, in yours was the capital items. Those are the numbers we talked about last time, right? We're still waiting for bids and repairs and all that, right? Okay, I don't want to try to miss that. Okay.
Where do we stand on a truck? I didn't see anything in there in a truck.
That went into the paper last Saturday, and bids are due next Friday. So the recommendation.
Do you have a question from those as well? You might want to look at it. So it looks like, so we have the grant for the early learning center, that $16,000 grant, which we talked about already. So page 2, I'm actually going to ask a question about this other grant. So it looks like, okay, so we applied for the grant. So my question actually surrounds the playground equipment. So the first grant, I know Carmel had their, or Rob, of course, they had their playground equipment. So it looks like this other grant, which they're applying for, which is fabulous, but again, it's because of playground equipment, is it?
So the last grant, if it was a $16,000.
Yeah, probably.
It's actually, a lot of that was furniture, equipment, there might have been, I don't remember, but there might have been a couple of pieces of playground equipment. But this grant is specifically for playground
Okay.
upgrades. Only used for playground. Okay. So what they're trying to do at lineup is really add to what exists, make it more accessible for children with varying levels of need, and again to provide some more opportunities for play that would help us to move towards that 5-star rating.
So the extra, I just saw, if this covers, if they get this or receive it, and it covers playground, they can take some of the other money and do something else with the version. Yeah.
And again, our preschool program is growing. We have a waiting list. We do expect that very near future, we will need to open up another classroom because of the kids that we're required to provide services for. I do believe that we will be able to do that next year with a half of the teacher. So again, more kids, more playground equipment, everything kind of ties together. So we're trying to think proactively instead of waiting for problems.
No, the answer is that. Okay, new business. 2015 calendar. Does everybody have one revised one that?
I have extra copies.
Everybody get a copy?
Thank you for including what our neighbors are doing. That's very interesting.
Does anyone need a hard copy? Audience? Do I have more? Oh, you want me? So there was an original copy that went out, and then, at the same time, I still had people that were looking at the draft and providing some feedback, and I sent out the revision, the final revision that is the recommended calendar with the explanation for the adjustments that were made since that first draft went out. I'm happy to answer any questions on this.
So the week in March or that 1 week off is off the table?
Oh, that's a great question. So originally back in, I don't remember what year, I think it was roughly 2009 when there was a lot of conversation that began statewide around eliminating February vacation, eliminating April vacation, and making one break in March. And so that gained a lot of momentum. People kept talking about it and talking about it, right? This is the first year that the Superintendent's Association has published a calendar with a revised vacation schedule. But they have not eliminated February, eliminated April, and added March. They cannot do that. That was the original conversation, but March is park testing month. So you can't take a week out of that block of time. It just doesn't work now based on the state testing requirements. So the revised RISA calendar is a modified February break, and it was adopted by roughly 12 school districts. So 9 out of 34 currently have a revised calendar. And so Monday's a holiday during February break. They have Tuesday where teachers come in for PD, and the kids come in for 3 days. So they only get a long weekend. But a lot of the school districts that went down that path are also school districts that start after Labor Day. And so there was really a correlation. So we've not started after Labor Day. We've traditionally started the last week of August. When I do the calendar, I just know that my starting week is that last week, and it doesn't even enter my mind where Labor Day is, because it's just like our starting week is that week. For other districts, it really is about Labor Day. A lot of the beach districts, for example. And you'll see that, although it's not perfect, a lot of the choices that were made around the elimination of February vacation are from districts that start so much later than us. So it's really an opportunity for them to kind of make up more days and not have a calendar that runs them to, in the 20s of June. And that's before we have snow days and hurricane days and flood days and everything else that happens.
So the majority of the districts in the state have this one? Would you say?
Yeah. I actually provided, it's kind of, it's really all over the place, but I did give you a breakdown of where the districts are on that.
So 16 out of 34 have the traditional, 9 out of 34 have modified, and some have regular calendars, on the bottom.
I'm surprised that there's so many different calendars in school.
Yes.
39 of the
I
districts.
think it seems so.
It's crazy.
I know.
I mean, it's always been the case that there have been different calendars, different start times, lots of different things. But now we're adding the vacation schedule as a new variable that makes districts different. Because before, the one consistent thing was that we all had to go to school for 180 days, and we all had the same April vacation and February vacation. Not anymore.
I make a motion that we approve the proposed 2015-2016 school calendar.
Discussion.
So that would include having no school on Wednesday, November 25th.
Correct.
And how does that affect the support staff?
It doesn't, because the 12-month employees work on that day. It's not a holiday in contract, just like central office administrators. It's not a holiday. We are required to work. The individuals that are not year-round employees have to work either their 180 days or their 181 days or 201 days. Is that right? 181 or 201.
Right.
So they have to work that number of days. If we don't have school on that day, then there has to be a day that's added at the end of the calendar. They still get their 181 or 201, so it doesn't impact their salary for the year. You know that they also have a little bit of vacation time that's built into their schedule. The vacation time is not for them to take days off while kids are in session, but they can assign that time to non-paid days wherever they might fall, during February break, Christmas break, whatever. So that just becomes a day that they could assign as a vacation day to themselves if they opted to do that. But there is no impact on their overall salary. They have to work 181 days or 201. They're all scheduled.
On the overall salary, but if they don't apply a vacation day, is that a 2-day pay week?
Yes.
Do they get paid?
No, they get paid for, they actually get paid for Thanksgiving and the day after Thanksgiving.
They get paid for the day after as well?
Yes.
So it would be a 4-day pay week?
Yes.
Is there a way to, you won't straight up what I was wondering, is there a way to know when the last senior class day is? Just so that we get an understanding that, okay, here's the last day now, that's the day, so we can just get that organized. Is there a way to know that?
We could. I know some other districts do it. I have not done it because, I'll just put it out there. The issue with putting it on the calendar is that it could change, because what we're really doing is putting on the calendar the last day, but every time there's a snow day, you have to add a day to that. So, what happens is seniors begin to schedule things, trips and whatever, because, they don't think about the impact of this, but we could do that.
You just tell them, just so we know.
I
just want to know, just so that we have an understanding that we know we've got a gap that's closing and worried about things. So,
yeah, I can even add it on there. We're in great shape because our last day is scheduled right now to be Monday the 13th, which we know is not real. That's once we start adding snow days, right? Our last day this year was Monday the 15th. Monday the 15th, and we're at the end of the week now. So, and our graduation is Saturday the 11th. And we have, we could add 5, 6, 7, 8 snow days and not have to adjust our graduation at this point. When graduation was scheduled a week before school got out, which was the case that year that we had to move it, we had all of those days off because we started with a week off due to a hurricane, right? And then there was snow days and so forth. But we already started a week behind with the last day of school was a week after graduation was scheduled. And all of those extra days, the seniors did not get enough days in by regulation. I just don't see that happening. Although, but I can certainly put I can code in some way for an calendar once it's up.
Okay, any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, on to the approval of the custodian, groundskeeper, and maintenance job description. Ross?
So this is the work of the folks that I mentioned in the cover. We met. This was one of the. This was not as difficult as the teacher assistants, but I think the catches the essential duties and responsibilities of what they were
Can we do them all together on
I think probably for the scrivener.
individual? Okay. So if we can have a motion to approve the custodian job description.
I'll make a motion to approve custodian grade 1.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Okay, motion to approve the groundskeeper custodian job description.
Make a motion to approve grade 1 groundskeeper custodian.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And the maintenance repairman.
Make a motion to approve maintenance repairman grade 4.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much for all the work you're doing.
Thank you.
Very nice. Okay. Unfinished business, review capital project update.
I gave a hard copy. There were not any changes except for some adjustments to the figures for the safety upgrades. But we are going to move into executive session under safety to talk about the details of some of these things. And so there's nothing in here that's new other than that information, which is very sensitive for me to executive session.
Make a motion to go into executive session under a 42-46-5, and grievances, C, 42-46-5, personnel, and 42-46-5.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.